If you just hit play on this channel, my name is Jimmy, and this is my channel called Not I But Him, or Not I But Him and Me. In this video, I want to talk about faith. How this video came to be is that during one of our last songs to close out service, it talked about faith. And faith was one of the main topics that the pastor drove in really strongly about. As I was listening to it, an acronym came to mind about faith. The acronym is following always in the heart. A couple of scriptures that come to mind when it talks about the heart is in Jeremiah. It says, the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can trust it? And then in Matthew, when it talks about treasures and how like people chase materialism, he says wherever you place your treasures, your heart will be also. But I think an effective counter to those verses is this. The question we have to ask ourselves is, who has our heart and or what has our heart? The answer to those questions will dictate exactly what you run towards or who you go to when things go awry. But if you've given your life to God, your life is no longer your own, your body is no longer your own, and your heart is no longer your own. Why? Because His Spirit comes in, and that Spirit is a helper, a comforter, an advocate that allows you to live in accordance to His will, in accordance to how He sees you and what He wants from you. Before we can even come to Christ, we have to acknowledge and look deep into our hearts and recognize exactly how wretched it is and exactly what things have been taken ownership, what we have allowed to take ownership within our hearts. And that looks different for everybody because we all have different upbringings. It's all rooted within the same thing, but it's these things that have taken ownership in our hearts that have most likely dictated the past in our lives. So in that moment, when we finally come to Christ and we recognize that, it's a moment where we say, God, I'm coming to you because I recognize the flawed condition of my heart and the things that currently have ownership over it. And I instead give it to you. It's very interesting and also powerful that when it comes to that prayer, it not only says by the confession of the mouth, but also of your heart. When the sinner's prayer comes to mind, it includes having faith that Jesus came, Jesus died, and Jesus resurrected to pay for our sins, so that way we would not be held in bondage and pay the penalty of death, but to actually be free of that, so that way we can live eternally. So to piggyback off those two verses, if our hearts remain flawed and the things that have taken ownership of that heart still remain, then yes, the heart can be very deceitful. But if we allow God to enter our heart and we ask Him to renew me and give me a clean spirit, or to take the things that I used to think about, take the things that I used to dwell on and remove those things so I could dwell on your precepts, so I could think about your promises, so I could see and know and understand how you view me, then that heart is no longer deceitful, because now that heart is based on truth. That heart is no longer based on lies or filled with darkness, but now it begins to shine. In Ezekiel, he says, I will give you a new heart, not one that is made of stone, but one that is made of flesh. And even as God comes in, as stone as it might be, the light begins to shine through more and more as He chisels at those areas that have calloused our heart. The more we allow Him to chisel, which that comes in through faith, by saying, Lord, it's been so long. I've been doing these things for so long, but I trust you anyway because I don't want to be that person anymore. If you said I am a new creation, help me to actually walk in that. Every step that we take in following Him is a chisel at our hearts. And with each chisel, more stone begins to fall on the ground. And the more we follow Him, the more God reveals Himself to us. The brighter the light becomes in our hearts. And the beautiful thing about this is that at first the light only appears bright enough for ourselves to see. But then the more we allow God to enter and to work in our lives and to work in our mind, body, and spirit, we see that that light, it no longer is limited to our hearts, but it begins to shine outward. So now people actually see the change. They see you as a child of light, and then they wonder, how is he a child of light? And then if they really want to take that step, if they really have a heart to heart with their own selves, they ask, what can I do to have that light? And that's an opportunity to tell them, and then for them to go on their own journey. I always tell myself it's not a sprint, but it's a marathon. If it was a sprint, the word endure wouldn't come, because when it's a sprint, it's over with in a flash. But when it's a marathon, you have all these obstacles that you have to overcome in the process of that. But translated to our faith journey, we have all these things that we will encounter. You know, doubt may try to creep in. Uncertainty may try to creep in. Fear may try to creep in. All of these things will try to get in the way on our journey. And in some seasons, we're going to find ourselves having more mountaintop moments than in other seasons where we find ourselves in the valley. But what makes faith so powerful is that if our heart is his heart and we're always focused on him, no matter what we deal with in those seasons, we will always be able to move forward. We will always be able to trust that, yes, my circumstances around me look grim, but I know that I have him. I know he is walking with me. I know that he is working in me, and I trust that in his timing, things will work out for me. We have to check our heart at all times. Another reason why the acronym stands out to me is because of this saying that I heard one time. The longest distance is from the mind to the heart. A lot of the things that we deal with, we could accept in the mind. We know what to do, but when it comes to actually allowing it to live in here and to trust in that, that's where a lot of blockages come in the way. I think about all the miracles Jesus performed while he was here on earth. And in the vast majority of them, faith came up as a reason for the healing. He said, because of your faith, you are healed. Or the opposite, because you had no faith, therefore I would do no miracles, when he was referencing his hometown. Because of their lack of belief, he was unable to perform miracles. Our faith can either push us forward, even as the obstacles surround us or attempt to knock us down, or the lack of it could allow us to fall back into our old ways, to accept our circumstances instead of believing in the one who is greater than those circumstances and whose power that lives within us is greater than those circumstances. Christ is a firm foundation, but faith is a firm foundation as well. Because if there is no faith, everything else, then every other fruit that gets talked about means nothing. The following always, to me, doesn't imply perfection. And I know to the Christians watching this, they'll say, well, that's common sense because we all fall short of the glory of God. That's why he came to save us. But there are people like me sometimes. I've gotten a lot better at this, but I'll be transparent. There are people, there are believers who get in their head and they overthink things, or they get overcritical in moments where they may have fallen, or they start to second guess their walk. They'll let their circumstances around them deter them. I share that to tell you that Proverbs 24:16 says, for the righteous person falls down 7 times, but they always get back up. To get back up, you have to have faith or believe that you can actually keep going, or that you won't fall again. Our faith is key for us to endure the things that we will face, the hardships and the trials that will come. Because if we lose our faith, then we're not going to put on our armor. Then we're going to turn our mind away from the promises and the truth that is fueling us, that is guiding us. We're going to turn off that light switch like I referenced in the previous video. And instead, we're going to walk around blindly, accepting our circumstances around us. If you read throughout scripture and tie it into our own lives, the majority, if not every Bible character, faced some kind of hardship, and they had a heart-to-heart moment with themselves. Do I give up? Or do I continue to move forward? The ones who gave up, the ones who allowed their flesh to govern their hearts, the ones who followed that, they fell. They ate the fruit of the flesh, which is death. But the ones who turned and allowed the Spirit to take hold of the heart, and to make it new, and to fill it with good things. Their fruit was good things. And that is why some of the more powerful characters, David is a popular example, even after they fell, they still were able to have victory. Their stories were still told because their hearts, even in their worst moments, remained on him. One thing that grounds me, and I know some people say comparison is a sin, but to me, this just helps me to reflect on how far I've came and how great God is to take me from where I was to where I am now. I think about similar situations that I faced, and I'll be in something, and I'll be like, God, this is a really tough situation. But I know that if I was operating with the heart I had in the past, I don't know what I would be doing right now. I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what I would be turning to right now. But I know for certain it's not you. And it's crazy because I've had some moments that were super intense, where like that thought to even turn away, like as soon as it entered, I said, I can't do that. I'm too deep. I'm too rooted in this for me to turn back, because now he has my heart. And as the acronym says, I will follow him always. And I know there are some things that'll test my heart. I know there are some things that will try to shake me. I know there will be moments where the past will try to come in and convince me that I haven't changed. I'm still the same dude. I'm lying to myself. Or you're lying to yourself. Or, man, everything is moving too slow. There is no progress being made in my walk. I'm not being changed, and where God has placed me is not experiencing any change either. I have to believe and trust that it actually is changing. And then I have to actually go to him and ask him to show that, because he will. Hebrews says faith pleases God. And then it goes on to list many characters in the Bible, such as Moses, who showcased faith. Faith is what pleases God. Not your works, not your status. As powerful as our callings can be, and how these callings should illuminate his power and give him glory, it's faith that is the foundation of that. Because to even step out in those callings, to even be able to give him the glory, we have to have faith to even take that step. And no matter what step he's asking us to take, no matter what trials we are facing right now, no matter how many times we may have fallen, no matter how difficult the next step we have to face is, we have to have faith and follow always. Follow God always in the heart. Look into your heart and remember where God pulled you from, talking BC, and reflect on every single thing up to this point that God has done in your life. Even the low moments, think about that too. If our faith was a highlight reel, if it only consisted of the mountaintop moments, then that wouldn't be realistic. Because we will have some low moments. Some moments where we're challenged. We may not be up to the task at that time. We may have stepped out on our own accord sometime. Or we are too scared to even take that step. We took some hits. We fell down. This stuff happens. But we could even look back on those moments up to this point and say, yeah, but he picked me back up. And he worked with me. He was alongside me. And that work that he was doing within me was also impacting others around me. And when we think about all that, we can have faith, no matter how tough that next step is, that God is going to work it all out. The world says follow your heart, but I'll switch that. Don't follow your heart, follow his heart. And when you follow God and allow him to enter in you, and allow his spirit to do a work in you, it's his heart now. So follow it, listen to it, and may his heart that is in you reach the hearts of many with faith and boldness and passion and fervor. And may they see that his heart that pursued you, wants to pursue them too. Walk by faith, not by sight.
Cause it's not I, but him who resides in me. Former slave to sin, but now I'm tied to holy pedigree. Righteous wears the crown, but that pale